Hey, welcome to Let's Eat with Russ. Today I'm going to make a big batch of chili. Just old-fashioned chili with beans and all of that. Regular pot of chili, good comfort food, football Sunday, whatever. So the first step is I got to roast all the chilies, and I'm just going to do that under the broiler in my little countertop oven. I'm working in the small kitchen again this time. So I'm going to pop these in, get them roasting, and then I'll show you the other steps in the process and prepping the meat and all of that. Alright, so on to the meat prep steps. Me personally, I don't like just ground beef in my chili. I like chunks of actual beef in there. So this is just a nice tri-tip that I bought. You got a fair thickness of fat cap on the back side, so I like to trim some of that off. Might even just feed it to the dog. And it doesn't matter too much if you leave a little bit of fat on or if you get a little bit of meat on your fat, no big deal. You just want to kind of get the biggest fibers, much of it. It'll probably cook down into juice if you just threw it in with the chili, but depending on if you're going for low fat or high fat, if you're trying to go keto or whatever. So anyway, I just diced this up into chunks roughly that size. So you don't need to watch me chop meat this whole time, so I'm going to finish this up and I'll be back to do the ground beef. Okay, got the meat all prepped up here, ready to brown it before it goes into the crock pot. So obviously I diced up the whole tri-tip, and I do still like ground beef in my chili. I just like chunks of it as well. So this is about a pound to a pound and a half of ground beef. So I'm going to heat up a skillet and reposition the camera and show you how to brown that up. And the chilies are roasting up nicely. I'll show you those as well once they come out of the broiler. Alright, so here's our chilies all roasted fresh out of the broiler. You can see you want them just kind of where the skin looks kind of loose and they get a little browned on each side. And you can put them in a plastic bag. Because I have so many, I'm just going to put them in this old empty used yogurt container. The reason you want to put them into something that's sort of enclosed is it helps them sweat, makes them easier to peel, so you don't get as much of the chili meat on the peel when you peel it off. So I'm just going to throw these all into here, and I'm actually going to dump all this juice in there as well, because I want it to go into the pot of chili, because it'll add more flavor, add more juice to the chili or sauce or whatever it is. And in a moment, I'm going to roast the garlic cloves as well. Alright, I'm going to throw the garlic cloves into the broiler since it's already hot. So just basically, you know, dump them on the little cookie sheet, baking sheet, whatever. You want to leave the skins on. I take off all the papery outside stuff, but you want to leave the skins on while you roast them. And then once they're roasted, they'll be extremely easy to peel and get the garlic out. You want to be a little bit careful that you don't over roast them, or else the garlic turns to just mush and goo, and it's a little hard to work with. It'll still taste good, but it's harder to work with. So anyway, about to roast the garlic and get to the meat and all that. Alright, now I'm going to show you how I prep the meat for the crock pot. So got a nice bowl of tri-tip here. Oh, almost forgot. I prefer to add a little bit of fat to the pan. One, it just kind of keeps it lubricated, and for me, I like to prefer to add more fat. So this is some actually homemade lard. Eventually I'll make a video on how to do that too. The pan's already hot, so the lard will be hot instantly, basically. And it'll take a few minutes, so I probably won't bore you with the whole process. But you basically just want to kind of brown the meat on all sides a little bit, and then just dump it into the crock pot there. It's going to take me a few shifts to do this, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the ground beef. And since I already have a hot skillet that's already going to be greased, I'm going to give the onions. By the way, this is one large brown onion chopped. I'm going to brown the onions a little bit, just until they start to turn a little bit clear, and then I'll throw them into the pot as well. And once I get all the meat into the crock pot, I like to jump into seasonings. Might as well get the meat seasoned immediately while I'm still waiting for all the chilies and the garlic and everything else to get ready. So anyway, next segment coming shortly. So real quick, just showing you the ground beef. So just, you know, mostly brown, little pink is fine because it's going to get cooked in the crock pot anyway. And for me personally, I go for the highest fat content of ground beef. I prefer a higher fat content. I think it's juicier and more flavorful. But if you want to go low fat, you can get lower fat ground beef if you like. And then again, we just dump it in over here. And for this, just because I know what the measurements are, I mostly just go with a shot glass as a measure. A full shot glass is about 3.5 tablespoons. This is just ground chili powder. It's a pretty big batch, so I'm going to go a little bit heaping on that. That's probably about 4 tablespoons there. Then I do the same thing with the cumin. I love cumin, so I tend to go a little heavy on that as well. And that's it. And I'm basically got the meat seasoned except for all the chilies and the roasted garlic, which I'm going to show you how to deal with here in just a minute. Just kind of mix that in. And, oh yeah, also, I got that going. I'm going to sear up these onions real fast. So there's enough fat left from the ground beef in the skillet that the onions won't stick, and they should sear up or saute, whatever, pretty quickly. So I'm going to get those going for just a few minutes. It won't take long with the skillet already hot. And I'm going to throw those in there. And then I'm going to start working on the chili peppers and the roasted garlic. And I'll show you that after I move the camera. Alright, so as you can see, the onions are slightly brown just a little bit. Start to turn a little bit translucent, slightly clear. That's good enough because, again, they're going to finish cooking in the crock pot anyway. Get those stirred in a little bit here. And it's starting to look a little bit like chili. It's going to look more like chili in a minute. So I just use one large can of diced tomatoes. And in a crock pot, obviously, you can do this for about as long or short as you want. If you put it on high, it'll probably only take an hour or two to get all settled in and cooked. Or you can put it on low, and it'll probably take most of the day. Or my crock pot actually has a keep warm setting, and I could do that and go to bed and let it cook overnight, and it'll still be fine when I wake up. So whatever you're trying to do, if you want to rush it or if you want time to do other things. And I use at least 1 can of chili beans. If I have room, I'll use 2 cans, and it looks like I do, so I'm going to add a second can, but I didn't open that one. So now it's starting to look like chili, but I got to get all the cooked chilies and garlic in there to finish off the flavor process. So I'll show you how to deal with the chilies in just a minute as well. Alright, so I already did most of it, so I'm just going to show you how to do it really quick. So with the chilies, by the way, these are Anaheim chilies, and these are, I don't know, they just call them yellow chilies. See, now that the skin is loose after roasting and storing them in a closed container, again, whether it's a bag or a little Tupperware or whatever, you should be able to just kind of pinch the skin and just peel it off. Sometimes this works better than others, but hopefully you don't lose too much of the chili meat onto the skins. And for these yellow ones, I tend to leave the seeds in because they add a little bit of heat. I'm just throwing everything in the blender here. And for these Anaheim chilies, they don't really have much heat. Try to dump the juices in. So I usually remove the big wad of seeds because it's just a bunch of seeds in your chili that doesn't really need to be there. And yeah, same thing, you should be able to just kind of pinch it where it's loose, like right there. And then you can just kind of use your fingers to separate most of the skin. You probably won't be able to get all of it, but since I'm throwing it in the blender anyway, and see, when that happens, you can just kind of wipe the meat off of the skin with your finger and get it into the mix. And if you want, you can, if you want your chili to be chunkier or whatever, you can chop these up and just throw them in, but I don't think it makes much difference flavor wise, and it's easier. I just throw it all in the blender and just whip it together. And with the garlic, once it's been roasted, it's almost kind of the same thing. Once you break that outer skin, you can just kind of get the roasted garlic clove out of that skin, add it to the mix. So I'll do those in a minute. For me personally, I like heat, so I'm going to add a bunch of habaneros. I just chop the tops off. You can remove the white part and the seeds. It'll reduce the heat a little bit, but I don't want to reduce the heat. I want to increase it, so I'm just going to throw them in like that. And if you really want to add the heat with habaneros, you would want to add them almost right before the whole dish is done cooking, because if I put them all in the mix right now, the capsaicin or the heat of the habaneros, a lot of that's going to cook down, so they won't be quite as hot as they would be if I added them right towards the end when they were fresher. And last of all, I love cilantro, so I go a little heavy on it. You can use less if you choose. I just basically remove the band, take a whole bunch, one bunch of cilantro, rip off all the stems, and add the whole bunch. That's how I roll, but you can adjust that to your taste. Obviously, you don't need the habaneros if that's not to your preference for heat-wise. So anyway, I'm just gonna hit all of this in the blender until it's pretty much pureed or whatever, and then dump it into the crock pot, and then we're basically pretty much done and kind of good to go here. And then just let it roll in the crock pot until it tastes like it's done. And you can add salt or whatever your preference is. I'll probably add a little bit of salt to mine. Probably not any black pepper in this case, it's chili. So anyway, that's basically the process, and I'll add one more segment when it's done, just to show you. Alright, chili's ready. Got a bowl going here. Just throw some cheese and onions on it. Obviously everybody knows how to eat chili. You can make nachos or put it on a chili dog or a burger. Just have a bowl of chili, use a tortilla, eat it with tortilla chips, whatever. It's chili. Anyway, this is my my tri-tip and ground beef chili. Hope you enjoyed the video. Go ahead and give it a try. I think it came out pretty good. And again, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, please.